Hello, Professor. I am Regina Chapel, really Regina Chapel Simmons Franklin, but that's a lot of names, so we'll just stick with Regina Chapel. And I am really grateful for this opportunity and this presentation before I get started because my husband and I are starting a group. And we have these real safe talks, these safe spaces, and this exercise has really helped me gain a lot of knowledge and prepare professionally. But in this presentation, I will discuss the details and my reflections on leading a group session for parents at my church. This session was held Tuesday, July 23rd at 6 p.m., lasting about 45 minutes. This location is in Missouri City, Texas, with about 11 parents attending, ranging from the age from 36 to 48. The participants they volunteered their services or their time, and it was a closed session. I facilitated this one-time group which was designated to help parents navigate challenges of raising their daughters in today's world, and while maintaining a strong moral boundary and keeping God as the central focus of their lives. Although we have had group discussions informally with just talking and sharing with each other, a few of us, this session was created specifically for this assignment. This purpose of this meeting was to provide tools for managing stress and building resilience. As the facilitator, I use previous experience like leading Bible studies, being an instructional coach, a teacher, teaching youth groups, that type of thing. I use those experiences to try to help me out a little bit. Okay. Now, although the participants were acquainted with each other, most of them were acquainted with each other, but when you start to talk about your personal things, it brings about a little resistance. As the session began, I focused on establishing a more comfortable environment and setting clear expectations from the beginning of sharing and being open and not to pass judgment, that type of thing. I started with an icebreaker with the activity, and I asked the question, what would you do for yesterday? How would that look for you? And I had to limit it because they got really excited, and this allowed the participants to share lighthearted answers while helping build a rapport with each other. The engagement was positive right from the start, and as the parents enjoyed the opportunity to reflect on their children's needs and desires, it encouraged them to participate more openly. Throughout the meeting, I used active listening, reflective techniques to ensure that everyone had an opportunity to speak. I guided the conversation with questions like, what does a healthy boundary look like in your family life? Or how do you maintain that boundary with the outside pressure, external pressures that come from your children's peers or from other family members? How do you maintain that? I also share my own experiences with raising my stepdaughter and how we balance her education with moral values. Some of them do know my daughter and I, and they know some of the things that we have made our way through the challenges, and it resonates with a lot of parents. The group was mostly engaged throughout the session. I noticed a shift in the dynamics as the conversation became more reflective. Some participants shared deeply personal experiences all about the challenges of parenting in today's society, which deepened and opened the group's sense of connection and support. They had that cohesiveness going on. At times, I had to gently redirect the group to ensure conversation stayed on track and within the purpose of the meeting, because they did try to veer off a little bit because they got so comfortable. They became so comfortable in sharing. Now, reflecting on my performance, my self-assessment, I believe I was successful in creating a safe space, an open space for participants to share and connect. For example, during the activity and discussions, I made sure to listen attentively and respond empathetically, which encouraged others to speak up. One area where I felt I did well was managing the group's energy, ensuring the conversation didn't become too overwhelming and veering off topic, not too much. However, there were challenges I encountered during the session. One challenge was ensuring that participants had an opportunity to speak, that all of them had an opportunity to speak. And some individuals were more reserved while others were more vocal. At times, I needed to actively invite the quieter participants, the introverts, into the conversation, asking specific questions that will spark their interest or bring them out to make them talk more. Additionally, while I was able to keep the group engaged, I could have incorporated a more structured group activities and to enhance interaction. I found myself leaning heavily on discussions, and could have integrated more exercise to maintain that momentum. In conclusion, my experience was incredibly valuable for me, as it reinforced the importance of creating a supportive environment. Just as I spoke earlier, I gleaned from this assignment. It helped me to understand whether group members wanted and needed to feel heard, and it was authentic. The environment was an authentic environment. One of the key takeaways was learning the delicate balance between keeping the group on task while allowing organic conversations to emerge. Keeping a cohesive group process. As we mentioned throughout our readings, cohesive and group dynamics is so important, and that is what I wanted to make sure that we have. This is something I will apply to the future groups, leaderships, especially in terms of knowing when to step in, when to let the group process things organically. Looking ahead, I would like to enhance my skills in facilitating group activities that encourage equal participation, because I am a natural introvert, believe it or not. So extroverting takes a lot out of me. I had a little pity on those within the group, so I have to work on that. In future sessions, I plan to incorporate more interactive exercises and perhaps even small group discussions to allow more diverse contributions. Overall, I feel this experience has deepened my understanding of group dynamics and given me the tools to be more effective in leading a group. I do want to leave one little last final thought. This session has truly shown me how powerful group dynamics, that cohesiveness and leaning on each other can be when participants feel heard, supported. The connections made in this meeting were a reminder that the power of shared experience and faith can make all the difference in group settings. Again, I thank you for this assignment, and I thank you for this opportunity, and you have a great day.